Hello hero, it's Lucy Lannon. I hope that the sound is okay on this, because obviously I'm wearing a giant bunny right now. This is partly to differentiate from the love reading that I just did in this same outfit. It's partly because it's quite cold in my flat, so please do excuse if there are any sound problems. I'm going to talk a little bit softer just to kind of hopefully counter anything like that. Today we're using the Twin Peaks Magician Longs to See Tarot, which I have pre-shuffled, but let's just riffle again. And again, apparently. So there's some kind of awkwardness, there's some hesitancy from somebody. Could be you. Two of Wands. It's Gordon Cole, I think. He's holding the blue rose. Yeah, it's Gordon Cole. Somebody's investigating into something or delving further into a scenario. I should say that this is a general reading for a large audience. Not everything will hit for everybody, but if it resonates for you, take it. Leave what doesn't for somebody else to pick up. Three of Swords reversed. Going through the Diane tape. Something about material evidence, maybe around a romantic disillusion, heartbreak, or a disillusionment of some kind. But there's one person looking into it and kind of looking for the facts on something. And I think this is without the consent of another party, just because why would they be investigating in that way? Blue rose, why is it a blue rose? There's something about it that's unusual. The investigating party can't get their head around it. This is family or friends, I promise you, but we'll figure it out as we go, guys. This one's coming out first. Knight of Wands. Interesting to have Bob and Sarah, right? Moon. Love this deck. And the Three of Cups reversed. So if this is a friendship reading, I feel like there's a circle that is no longer a circle. Perhaps because one person moved on. Maybe that's the weird thing. Maybe that's what's being investigated to a closer level here. But there's some kind of emotional instability around it. There may even be violent action for some of you around it. It's not going to happen. If it's happened, you know that it's already happened, right? Confirmation, not news. Because of this Cooper card and the way that he's sort of bleeding on everything, it's like, oh, the bleeding is like a thing that can't be repressed. It makes me think of the fairy tale Bluebeard, and how when she can't get into the room, I'm just going to tell Bluebeard because it's going to be too complex if I don't. Okay, so this woman marries this rich guy, I think he's a king or something. He says that she can explore every room in the palace while he's away except one. She knows where the key to this is, or she finds it, depending on the version of the tale. The key bleeds irrepressibly, night and day, right? It's weeping blood for every time that she doesn't go through this door into this one forbidden room. She knows she must go in. Confirmation, you can hear that. Cyclist, good for him, even if his bike sounds a bit weaselly. Sorry. Shouldn't be throwing shade on motorbikes. Perhaps someone in your friends or family circle is a biker, and that's why I made that sus comment. Anyway, so the key bleeds. Eventually she gives into this idea of the bleeding key, and she unlocks the door. And depending on who tells the tale, there are either the bodies of this guy's previous dead wives or the heads of this guy's previous dead wives, hence the bleeding key. It has been diluted and changed over the years. Hit me up in the comments with like a decent version, but that's the version I heard. This moon card is making me think of that bleeding key, and I keep scratching my face and there's no reason for me to. So it's, what is that? Okay. Because of my associations with cobwebs and spiders, there is a maternal figure who is not portraying what they are in this or what their involvement is, or they're doing something sneaky or shifty, potentially something which affects you directly, or which has affected, if this is a friendship thing, the person in the group who is missing now. And again, we got Sarah Palmer, right? So if you know the Twin Peaks series, you don't have to, but she is the mother of the missing girl. So there's something around that, and there's something about this, like the idea of the bleeding key or the blue rose, or something that needs, it's like a Nancy Drew mystery that needs solving around all this. No, they're going back. Wait for me. Sorry guys. Let me go deeper, right? Six of Pentacles. You could have been here for my recent money reading where we were talking about that potentially dodgy transaction. Five of Pentacles, that's interesting. Is that Ben dancing? Or Leland? Anyway, it's Five of Pence, right. I need one more, guys. How's this tie into these three? And is this friends or family? It's friends, okay. But it might relate to family members. That's... I'm getting like a couple or like a maternal figure and someone else. Tower. The burning of the mill. Alright, someone... I feel like someone was making money in a way that not everyone approved of. I don't know whether that's in a friendship circle or a family unit. And as a result of that, there's something about this maternal figure, whether that's a mother of one of you or a mother hen within the group, who ostracized somebody to the point of them leaving altogether, right? With Justice here and Sheriff Truman, what I'm seeing is that the truth about this will come out, but there is some kind of investigation into it. And like I say, there's this mood of the bleeding key. There's this thing that needs to be looked into that hasn't been explored enough yet by whoever remains, be it in a family or a friendship group. I think for many it's a friendship group. There is also something here in terms of money passed to and from the person who is doing something for a living that not everyone approves of. There's something where a deal hasn't been reciprocal, or like something is owed to this person that hasn't been repaid or hasn't been given to them because of what it is that they've chosen or how it is that they choose to be. So if it is familial, this could be somebody that's been denied an inheritance because of what it is that they do, and that's about to come out, and money's about to go to rightful parties. If this is more like a friendship thing and there's someone who had to leave the group because the mother hen disapproved of what they did or what they were getting money through or the way that they received in the world or something like that, there's like something being held back that was owed to them and it's about to be given back. But I think what's going to happen before that is that yet another person from this family or this group is going to be excommunicated or like distanced somewhat, and that's going to be the catalyst for the truth to come out. Because it's almost like, yeah, this original person, they're an oddball, they make strange choices. We all kind of go, ugh, it's just so and so, they're made that way, we love them anyway, right? It's almost expected. So the treatment of them, I'm not saying it was okay, and I'm not saying it was accepted by everybody involved, but I think that it was something that was at least partially ignored. Yeah, okay. Whereas the next time it happens from the same person or set of people or in the same way, is gonna really start to like rock the boat with this. Because then it's almost like, you were a bitch to so-and-so, and I'm sorry to use that word, you were a bitch to so-and-so, and that was one thing, because they're a bit weird anyway, or they were doing this anyway, and yeah, we all thought it was a bit sus. But now you're being a bitch in the exact same way to this person, and we see you. Emphasis on we, right? This is a group that once perhaps had a mother hen or a ringleader, and are now turning on that ringleader because it's not okay to just what's the word? Come on, what's the word? Not penalise. It's not okay to like single somebody out and then get rid of them and then immediately turn around and start to single someone else out, because then people notice. Do you get what I mean? And I feel like almost, and I'm sorry to say, if this was you that got like excommunicated or whatever in the first place, I feel like the rest of the group was almost alright with it, because it was like a running joke, maybe even that you joined in with to a certain extent, of like, this person is doing this thing willy-nilly, you know, bit crazy or bit odd or whatever. Sorry to use ableist language there. But what's happening now is, it's not just you, or it's not just this person. And it's becoming apparent that actually this is a mechanism within the group, because someone who thinks that they are the group leader, elected or otherwise, is systematically kind of narrowing it down to what they want things to look like. Or not even that, because it may not be that their goal is to have a smaller number of people relating to each other. What I'm hearing for some of you is that they just wanted to cross out anybody that was in their path, and now they're realising there won't be that many people left if they keep on doing that. And I think that at the same time as that's happening, there's a realisation that this person does this again and again. Again, only for some of you, and I mention this on the channel always tentatively and with the caveat that I'm not a medical professional and I can't diagnose shit. But this person that's sort of crossing people out gradually may have like cluster B personality stuff, or narcissistic traits, or some kind of egoic crusade. Which means that each time something is seen to be in their path, they go a bit like, the horse makes me think they have blinders on for a second, and it's like, well, nothing else matters except getting that out of the way. But what's been seen by people with more rational heads, as my bestie would call it, is that that's not normal behaviour, especially if you're doing it repeatedly, especially if you're pulling the same trick again and again, and particularly if this relates to money owed, or like things that this original person should have been entitled to, and then they missed out on because of being sort of chucked from the group in some way, or, you know, because of it being said that they weren't part of the family or whatever it is. It's like, oh, so you're after the money, and it's becoming clear now. I hope that makes any kind of sense. 10 of Cups reversed. I feel like the first person to get the boot was a threat to this dodgy person's sense of family, whether that's chosen family and tribe, or whether that's like their sense of being the head of a more traditional family unit. Are you reverse or are you in the upright? Yeah, you're in the upright, I thought so. I feel also like the person giving the boot may be somebody who has a history with self-martyrdom, with victim mindset, with telling a tale about how terrible it is for them each time they do something like this. And there's now been enough times of them doing it that the people who've been around them for months or years are sort of starting to go, you can't just do this every time you play up. You can't just only be sad when someone accuses you of something that you actually did do. This is very much reminding me of someone I know, sadly. But it's almost like there's people waking up to it who in the past, whether it's a broad spectrum, because there's a broad audience, hopefully, whether they were like full flying monkeys to this person's shenanigans, or whether they were over the other end of, we care about you as a friend, so we just eye roll it if you get a bit snippy. There are people who were semi-complicit in all of this, or who at least went along with it without saying much, who are now mad. Really mad. Like angry. There's like a sudden... Because I feel like there's a realisation that they've been played. That they were a party to this, and they weren't fully aware of the extent to which that was true. And they wouldn't have wanted to screw anybody over or screw the original person over. I hope this is making sense for you. Let me know in the comments. If this is a family, there's a sense of like, how dare you manipulate me so that I treated my sister or my daughter or my brother or something that way because of something you said or did. And like, that could have been a false thing. Sorry guys. I get, if there were claims made, here we go, still it again. If there were claims made, I feel they were unsubstantiated. But I think that people trust this person to be... Hold up, I need to figure out how to say this. They're not the rational one. They're not even the person who self-appoints as being rational necessarily. But they're somebody who, like, will get the job done if someone needs it to be done. So, like, in the group, they're the Winston Wolf, right? They will clean up messes, they will... Basically, you've got a person who, for whatever reason, is in a position of semi-earned power within a certain community. And you've then got people who won't argue with that person's assessment of someone else because to them, it seems correct for whatever reason. Particularly because this first person to be ostracised was doing something that was a bit sus, or that, you know, you guys all kind of laughed about as friends, or that was a bit oddball for the way that group operate. But now, the first, you know, the person who's sort of in control of everything is applying the way that they treat that person to other people in ways that are like finding them out. And it's like, oh, this isn't actually about that person or saving them from themselves or anything like that. It's about you having control. And more than that, it's potentially about money or about depriving somebody of something that you hoped to get, right? So if it's not money, read attention, resources, whether they be social or otherwise, perhaps romantic options, perhaps a feeling of business autonomy, all kinds of, you know, anything that you can get sort of a bit envious or a bit threatened about, that could be it for you, because general audience. But it's like people are seeing that this person did it because they felt threatened, not that they did it for the good of the group or like because of the reasons that you were all side-eyeing whatever this person was up to who eventually got ostracised. Excuse me, confirmation. And there's some kind of undercurrent of resources to this. If it's not financial, it's about attention, or it's about like a feeling of somebody else getting more than this controlling person is getting. But the truth will out. Why investigation? Why blue rose? What's actually made the key bleed, guys? What started the key bleeding? Page of Pentacles in reverse. Somebody stood out against this. I don't think that they were in the core group. So this may not be a family member. If it's a family, this is like I'm hearing a boyfriend, but a partner of somebody involved in it, or like somebody on the outside. They may also be younger than you, whoever's watching, because they're expressing as a page, so this is like a young energy. Doesn't mean they're a child, it just means that if you're watching and you're 70, this person could be 60, 50, you know, whatever. If you're watching and you're 20, they could be a teenager or they could be a kid, right? But as this first thing was going on, where this person was kind of shut out, this person stood up and said, I think this is dog shit. I think this is not what's actually going on. This is sus. And you, pointing to the controlling person, know better. And at the time, this may have been laughed off, or it may have been seen as a child's loyalty to a parent, or as a partner's loyalty to a partner or a family unit, or to acceptance or something like that. If this is a friendship thing, this is like somebody on the outside of the circle who is commenting on the fact that the way the circle are operating is kind of bullshit. And because they're not in the circle, the response from hearing the rest of the girls, but it could be any gender, is like, well, what would you know? Like, get out of it, stay out of it, you're not part of us. Shut up. So this could even be like in a school environment or university or something, where somebody that's not directly involved with you is like, why are you doing that? Why are you cutting this person out? They're struggling, or they're doing this, or they're just being themselves, or whatever. And the response from everybody involved was like, oh, shush, we know what we're doing. But actually, now that it's happening a second time, there is a realisation that perhaps the wrong decision was made, and that this Page of Pentacles might be right about more than was thought. There could be someone as well who has like a weird relationship with food, or they could be a stoner, because it's coming out as Jerry, and I always think of Jerry enjoying his baguette, or Jerry in season 3 when he's like really panicking because of how high he is. And it's simultaneously one of the funniest and most frightening things I've seen, because like you genuinely don't know whether he's having a psychotic episode, whether he's just high, or whether there's something supernatural going on, and it's like really tense. Again, you don't have to have seen the series to understand that, but it could be that this person is like a fool to the community, but like a sort of savant who comes out with stuff that is occasionally very wise, but because they're a goofball energy, like no one really listens to them. But I feel like you do, or you know that they know more than they let on, or they know more than comes across, because they wouldn't be coming out as Jerry if that wasn't the case, right? So if you're wondering who this is that person. Or this is just confirmation, so let me know down below. Okay, 4 of Wands with Garland and Bobby having a dance. Lovely. I think there is a return to stability, a return to celebration. I think if this was a group of people who used to hang out, there's like a reunion coming, or some opportunity for this ostracized person to return to the fold in some way, even if it's symbolically. And I say symbolically because the bird from the credits is like hovering over the 4 wands here. So it's like the missing girl or the absent party, any gender, is present somehow, is represented in what goes on next. I'm hearing for some of you this is like the next place that you guys hang out will be the place that this person used to choose, or the next thing that you do is something that they suggested, or something like that. It's not exactly a peace offering from the group, but it's an acknowledgement that they also held a role within it. Really weird. What else was I going to say about that spirit? I had a thought. It's flown away like a little bird. Maybe it wasn't for this. There's something here about reaching a new stability as a result of this truth coming out. And it's not comfortable for everybody, but honestly, I feel like the next gathering, they're either the person trying to control stuff and trying to sort of out people, or trying to get their money's worth, or whatever this is, they're either not going to be there, or it's going to be like they're not there in the way that it operates, because nobody's listening now. When they tell the victim story, when they do the Josie turning into the doorknob thing, no one's listening. I'm hearing excuse the old song, but I did grow up in the early 2000s/90s/80s. I'm hearing Nobody's Listening by Linkin Park. And that, if I remember rightly, and it's been a while, but I think that might be about somebody being sort of controlling, and then somebody responding by being like, no one's listening to you. Or being ignored in some way. Alright, what am I doing there? Things are being shuffled in a very different way in terms of this group. Alright, what about this? The OG ostracised person, what of their fate? What's happening with them? Other than them getting repaid or getting the money back or getting the whole thing coming out of it. I've got Ace of Wands reversed. I feel like this person's lost their creativity or their chutzpah or their moxie. They're not operating in the same way that they were. If they used to be quite sexual, maybe that's why they were dismissed by the group. Like, I don't like it, but I'm seeing a bunch of girls rolling their eyes and calling someone a hoe. Sorry. I don't do slut shaming on this channel, but that's what I'm picking up. But if they were perhaps more sexually active or more fluid with their sexuality or just more kind of open in the way that they're presented, that's not the case anymore. I think this has really injured them in a psychological way. And if that's not appropriate and it's nothing to do with someone like that, then this is just a loss of inner fire, creative impulse. This could be expressive of depression for some because of the way that the sort of grey smoke is forming. So I feel like it's really affected this person that they were churned out, not because of the controlling person who did it, but because of the group being complicit in it and kind of letting it happen. So if you're part of the group, perhaps it's time to extend something their way. And if it's not full apology, at least compassion, right? Or at least enthusiasm for the friendship or the connection that was once had. Queen of Pentacles, we've got Audrey turning up. It's funny, isn't it? Because Audrey's kind of, she's almost like an avatar for the whole show. I'm actually not a massive Audrey fan at all, but it's like Audrey images are a facsimile for the entirety of Twin Peaks in some way. She's the quintessential log girl. And she's holding this coin here, but there's something taken out of it. It's almost like this first person to be churned out, it was because of what they represented. And whilst it was an immediate threat to the person doing the churning, doing the get out, whether it was that overt or whether it was, strategic and covert, they were threatened, so that happened. But actually I feel like the whole group was threatened because this person, I want to say this person represented something they felt they could never be. So if they were more sexually fluid, they were penalised for that. If they were more spiritually inclined, they were penalised for that. If they were doing better with their money, rumours were spread about maybe them making their money in a less than savoury way. I'm seeing her in One-Eyed Jacks and I'm seeing how well dressed she is. And I'm thinking of the background that Audrey comes from versus the places she finds herself in. What I'm almost getting from this is that somebody who had a decent amount of resources was resented for that by a collective, by a community, family or otherwise. And that resentment masqueraded as another thing and went on for too long. And bless him, this Page of Pentacles, whoever he is, doesn't have to be male either. Page is quite often a woman, to be honest, but this person, this foodie or stoner or goof, they saw this happening and they said, this is happening and it's not cool. No one listened. But they're fucking listening now. Alright. So, when the truth comes out about the bleeding key, or the the reality of what happened. Well then, ooh. Judgment with Wyndham Earl when his teeth go black. I love this character. I cannot even tell you. when he's in his long johns playing the pipes, dancing around, and he's got Leo held captive with spiders above him and stuff. I'm just like, oh, Bay. Anyway, if you've never seen Twin Peaks, that sounds ridiculous. In fact, if you have seen Twin Peaks, it is ridiculous. He's the most ridiculous character. Anyway, that's besides the point. I love Wyndham Earl. The end. I noticed that he's hanging above a chess game. So to the extent that this original controlling person has been strategic in their methods, and to the extent that their allies have been strategic in not coming off as someone who's a hater, but perhaps letting something happen that isn't so great, that is all being unveiled. The pieces are being flicked down onto the table. Nobody's progressions are being kept as progress. Does that make sense? I don't want to frighten you if you were part of this group, or indeed if you were the ringleader, but there's a sense of somebody divine sweeping the fucking board right now and saying, you got here because you took this person's pawn, and you made these moves in this direction because you already had the advantage of your space and all of that. And what actually happened was meaningless. The progress that you made was meaningless because it was based on the wrong things. Now, for us to have Wyndham Earl when he's in his evil Black Lodge mode where he's bleeding black from his mouth, oh, I love it. This is when the academic, the stable man, the man with a good community reputation, finally goes mad and reveals the evil within himself, right? And when I say evil, I don't mean that anyone involved in this is evil. Sorry, I'm scratching my thigh, nowhere dodgy, just aware of angles. I don't think that the person orchestrating this or even the people involved are evil. I think they're all good people, potentially doing not so great things for their own reasons, right? But it's become this chessboard because when this many pieces are in place, suddenly it's a game, right? Suddenly it's a strategy, an overarching theme. But certainly there is one of you, and I think it's this maternal figure, any gender, who had more awareness of what they were doing than the others. And what is leaking out of them, out of their mouth, this blackness, this void, this Black Lodge oil stuff, is their fear. And I'm almost a little bit turned on by this because because of the justice. It's like I'm sorry if this is you, by the way. I do want to read compassionately and for all people, but there's something divine here that's revealing not just to the community, but from this person to themselves, how afraid they were of somebody else just having a right to exist, or a right to have success in a certain way, or a right to embrace who it is that they are and still be allowed friends, or still be allowed family, or still be allowed to earn whatever it was that was owed to them. The bigger karmic justice, if we want to misuse the K word, and I hate it, but it's a thing, the bigger justice, cosmic justice, let's call it, around this, is not just the judgment on the group and the fact that it's like, swipe, start again, you guys are going to talk and you guys are going to either disband altogether or it's going to begin as it should have been. The bigger thing is that this ringleader person, this person who was more knowing about whatever they were doing, is going to be cognizant of the extent to which they do this on the regular. And sorry if you can hear me swirling and gurgling and hiccuping and all of that. It's my confirmation sign. It's really very inappropriate on the part of the universe, but here we are. I'm trying not to be rude, but you know. This Windermere figure, to the extent that they realise how many times they've done this to somebody, they are going to be viewed by the community as mad. And I know that that's not the best word to use in these times, but you know, Wyndham is the cackling villain. He's very demonstrably taken over by spirits of the Black Lodge, to the point where, like, when we hear his lectures, the tapes are warped, right? When we see his face, he's leaking engine oil. When we hear his plans, they sound insane. Even when we see his machinations later on, they go from relatively normal things like, I'm going to be part of the Black Lodge, I'm going to pursue this strangeness in Twin Peaks, and they leap all the way over to, I'm going to make a guy die in a giant chess piece. And I'm going to dress as the log lady and go to some, what is it? I wanted to call it a biennale. It's not fucking biennale. The like awards thing. Anyway, what I mean is, Wyndham is more performatively, more demonstrably corrupted by his own fears as the show goes on, until he ends up in the place where fear corrupts in its most absolute sense, in its spiritual sense, and he kind of burns up with it, and that's it. That's the end of him. And whilst I don't think that this situation will be the end of anybody, and I don't want to spread fear in that direction, what I do think is that the more this person realises that this isn't just the one time, and the more that they get feedback from their community, including the people that they've used to be able to do this, or lied to, or whatever it is, that it isn't just the one time, the more that kind of thing is going to show itself. Who am I thinking of? There's like an energy of, give me the example, universe. I'm feeling the energy of it, but I don't know what it's from. Okay, this will only resonate for some of you because some of you are young, but you know, in The Craft, when Nancy is so sort of threatened by the addition of Sarah and by what's going on in her own home life and all of that, that she eventually sort of succumbs to magic and becomes really mentally ill. And you know, the first bit of it is the he's sorry, my ass sequence. And then the sort of extreme end of it is right at the end of the movie where she's in the straitjacket. Sorry for the spoilers, but it's probably as old as you are. And she's laughing and she's saying, I'm flying. And we're feeling sorry for her in that moment, because it's like, oh damn, she really, she got major situs. It really took over, you know. The power corrupted, absolutely. Although I don't think that's what that movie's trying to get across, and I don't believe that's correct, that power corrupts, but you know what I mean, she accessed great power from a space that wasn't so great, and it completely messed with her mind, bless her, and that's where she ended up. It's that kind of an energy. It's like the dawning on this person of the extent to which this is a repeated cycle for them is something that will affect their mental well-being, is what I want to say, in a big way, in a way that's demonstrable to other people. And if you're not this person, whether you are one of the chess pieces that got swept aside, or whether you are someone that's been betrayed, or whether even you are this absolute hero of the Page of Pentacles who said, this is all sus, you should stop doing this, guys. What I want to say is, I would get out the way. While this person not even figures their stuff out, but while they realise that they can't keep doing this, I would get out of the way. For some, again, small number, caveat that I'm not a professional in anything, these readings are for entertainment purposes, etc., etc. For some of you, this person, part of their victim story has been to call other people narcissists whenever they do something they don't like, they're not in control of. And this person is going to realise actually that a narcissistic diagnosis is applicable to them. And it's going to crystallise the way that their relationships have played out for many years. At which point I would stand back and just let them heal with professionals. I wouldn't try to tell them that it's true. I wouldn't try to tell them that it's not true. I would like to be in a room very far away when that happens. And that's not a warning. I don't want to breed fear. It's just when somebody who is being enabled, when someone who's been enabled to act in a certain way a large, grand number of times over their lifetime, either doesn't get their way for the first time or realises that other people see that they do this, what happens is a kind of almighty tantrum and breaking down of the ego for this person. You might refer to it as narcissistic injury, but usually narcissistic injury is accompanied by a demonstration of personal power that can be ridiculous, loud, violent, accusatory, can rope lots of people in and make accusations that go into, realms as disparate as legal fields, or shutting down, what's the word? Estrangement of people. Confirmation again. It tends to be very dramatic because this person's previous mechanisms would have relied on drama to get people's sympathy so that they can get people on their side in the first place, and to deflect whenever they might have been found out for having a bit dodgy behaviour with people or spreading gossip or whatever it is, by sort of making a dramatic thing happen so everybody looks that way, But it's like the key is bleeding for everybody involved here. There is no not opening Bluebeard's door. And this person is being revealed to themselves as Bluebeard, which I think actually is a more worrying thing for the community than it would be for just like you or just this person. Or if it was just coming out that this happened this one time, that's a shame for all concerned and it would be a bit tricky. But what instead is happening is that this person is seeing themselves in the mirror for the first time. And again, if you're around them, you might want to step away. You might want to make excuses long in advance, like as soon as you see this reading, to not be involved in the next gathering, to not be attending the next thing. And you might want to give the people you're closest to a heads up that something explosive is likely to go down. And I don't mean literally, and I don't mean in a way that breeds fear. Nobody's going to get attacked or hurt or anything like that. It's just that when a person like this throws the dummy out of the pram, you don't want to be there. Final card, the King of Swords reversed. I feel this is advice for you, whoever you are in this. It sort of seems counter to what I've said, but it's not when you really think about it. The truth is coming out. Spirit is bringing the truth out. What I work with is sweeping the board, right? Indeed, what you may work with, what you may manifest with, is putting things to rights, particularly if you're on the receiving end of bad behaviour. Because that truth is coming out, because justice will prevail, because we've got Sheriff Truman in the upright, right? You're being asked not to tell the truth. Now, that's different to being asked to lie. I don't condone lying on this channel. I don't judge people, but I also don't encourage it. What I'm saying here is that through this reading, and indeed through the fact of finding this reading and getting this far and identifying with the circumstances, hit like if you do, to the extent that this rings true to you and you understand it, right, and you understand the situation and the dynamics, you could be implicated Not necessarily in the situation, but in this person's tantrum. So you are being asked to act like you don't know that this is about to go down. That doesn't mean saying that you didn't know what went on if it comes to a situation where you are asked. I would certainly ask you to do what you feel is your moral obligation under those kinds of circumstances, particularly if money or workplace stuff or legal stuff was involved, because that's super important, right? But certainly going in, I don't want you to make anybody aware that you've had this reading, except to say, damn, I can't make the 15th. What a shame. I'll catch up with everyone another time. And then a gentle nudge to your bestie maybe of, do you want to maybe not go on the 15th and I'll explain another time? Because you trust me, right? And no more than that. This is very much lying by omission rather than lying directly. And it's very much to protect, to preserve. It's also to do with sort of tracking back to you, because the other symbols that are in this card. You don't want to be in this trail. You want to let it explode without your presence. And then after it explodes, maybe you can come and weigh in. And it might be morally important for you to do that, particularly in defense of anybody that needs defending. And that's, you know, if this is a big situation, if this is a small situation, doesn't matter. It's, you know, this reading's here for whoever. This could be as little as a series of cat fights, and I don't really like that term, it's a bit misogynist, but you know what I mean. Or it could be as huge as somebody being conned out of thousands of pounds or dollars or whatever of inheritance, and lots of people being in on it. But wherever you fall on that, you need to step back and you need to just whistle to the wind until things start to resolve themselves. And my promise to you from this reading is that they absolutely will. And may I say as a side note, that is more to do with personal opinion than it is to do with spirit guidance. If you're not the Page of Pentacles, they're a good friend to have. They're a good ally to be around. If they're a kid, they're a good kid. If they're a stoner, they're a good ally. Whether that's my alarm. I didn't know it was going to go off, but that may be my cue to go. That's my cue to wind up, right? It's not an alarm to say wind up, but it's happening towards the end of the reading, so I feel I should. But what I was getting from the Page of Pentacles, and again with, I don't know why I'm getting all these like 2000s references, like early, like just after Y2K type stuff, but I am, so we're going with it. The guy in Ginger Snaps that is the friend / dealer that helps them develop the cure is also this like slightly stonery truth teller figure that's a bit goofy and maybe a love interest but maybe not. And I know that his fate isn't that great, but this reminds me of that. I'm also thinking of the guy in Cabin in the Woods who susses it out kind of before other people and who is an all-round good egg, and how much like everyone laughs at him, but he's a good figure to be around as well. It's that sort of stock character, whether that person has those qualities, and I just want to say be friends with them because they seem cool. I wish that I knew that guy or girl or other. Anyway, I hope this has been useful to you. If it has, please like, subscribe, ding the dong, thank you kindly. I'm a small channel with a big mission. I'd like to get much bigger and reach a larger audience, and the only way that I can do that is with more subscriptions, more comments, and more shares of my content. So you know what to do, perhaps after all of this blows over. All right, take care guys.